Tuesday, everyone. Coming out of our strength day today, we are going to play around with a little work set that is a descending ladder with a little piece to get the heart rate going and start off with. But before we get to that, let's talk about our warm-up. We're going to take down inchworm side plank for 3 at 3 second hold per side, into our plank lean forward to down dog for 3, bird dog for 6 to 10 alternating reps, quad plank 20 to 30 seconds, narrow stance squat hold for 10 seconds. So it's just a nice quick once over for the shoulders and the core, getting those ankles warmed up a little bit too in that narrow stance, and just seeing how things feel today. Just double check and make sure things are feeling all right before we move into this next phase down here, which is going to consist of some dumbbell work. A dumbbell sumo deadlift is for 3 per side, into a dumbbell snatch, which is going to be 6 alternating back and forth just to warm up the movement in the work set. And then we're going to do something a little different, an overhead stand to kneel, and then a front rack stand up. And I'll explain and I'll demonstrate that whole thing to you guys in our work set. We have 3 to 5 a side, and then continuing on with a little bit of cardio work, a dumbbell lateral jump over for 20 seconds. You'll hit that up for 3 to 5 rounds, taking your time just to feel the body, get things primed up and ready to go. And then we're going to move into our work set. So our workout today is a wall run of 90 seconds accumulation time. So if you have a treadmill at home, if you have a rower or a bike, I'll have some different options for you guys as well. But if not, that wall run is there for you guys to embrace and have some fun with to get that heart rate up. Once you're done your 90 seconds of wall run, you're going to move and forget about the wall and just move into this little couplet down here, which is going to be 18 alternating dumbbell snatches, 18 V-ups, into 16 dumbbell snatches, 16 V-ups, 14, 14, 12, 12, 10, 10, done. All right? So remember, the snatches in this work set are total count, alternating back and forth. It's going to be a good little burner. It's going to be a lot of fun for our Tuesday to start ramping up the intensity, especially if you took down a couple of those hero workouts over the weekend with your choose your own adventure. If you want to take these next couple of days as kind of a nice low intensity build up, it's not necessarily a bad idea. It's a nice chance to get the body moving well again. All right, let's get you warmed up, ready for action. Have some fun on a Tuesday today. All right, guys, let's get those feet under those hips. Let's take the arms big and tall up overhead. Let's just give ourselves a little shrug and then come back down with the shoulders. We're going to reach it to one side, big stretch through the side body. Big stretch to the side body as well, and then come back through and shrug. We'll come back down with the shoulders, open up to the T. We're going to turn them in, turn them out, turn them in, and out, and in, and out. Big stretch. Bring the hands to the hips. We'll step the feet out to our sumo stance. We'll turn a toe, hand to the thigh. Big reach up, focusing on that upper hand. Pull the hip back, take it down the shin, keeping that nice stacked arm, and then reach up to the sky. Keep reaching up to the ceiling as we pull the hip back, and then stand tall. And again, one more time, pull the hip back, and stand tall. And turn those toes, big high five. And rotate, turn those toes again. Hand to the thigh, big press up, pull the hip. Lower down, stand tall, and then pull the hip, and stand tall. One more time, keep those legs straight, arm up to the sky, pull the hip back, and take it down and up. Turn those feet back to center, big high five, hands to those hips, take those hips around a few times, make sure we're moving them around. We'll go the other way. Whew. Come back to center. Let's get you guys ready for action. So if you like to do some lizard lunging, some rotation, cat-cow curls, whatever you need to do, pause the video, continue warming up slowly, steadily. I'm going to move you into that first phase, which is going to touch on the shoulders and the core all the way down to those ankles. So I'm going to start off first with our inchworm side plank. So my feet, I'm going to stand off to the side and kind of together or under the hips. I can start off with an extra little overhead position stretch. I'm going to take it all the way down to the floor. I'm going to walk my hands out, come into my plank, establish that good strong plank, and I'm going to rotate slowly into my side plank, holding that position. And then I'm going to come back down once I've held for 3 seconds. And if I'd like to, I can also lower my knee down, turn to the side, and with that side plank for balance, there's nothing wrong with lowering that knee first, taking that side plank, coming back down, drop a knee, switch sides, and move through it that way. But regardless of the variation, supported or unsupported, I want you to establish that good solid plank and shoulder position before you transition to the other side. So really pay attention to that so we can get the most stability in that shoulder as we can. Our next exercise is our plank lean for forward and down dog. So we're just going to work on going forward and back. But there's a couple things we need to pay attention here. So I'm going to pop into my plank position first. I'm going to get my feet into a little wider stance, so it's just outside my toe together. I'm going to pull my ribs and hips, press through the shoulders, and I want you guys to really maintain that nice solid hip position, that hollow, as you pull forward, kind of in that planche position, and then come back into that down dog. So we reach, set those lats, get nice and solid through those hips, and then we come back into our plank, ribs, shoulders, then pull forward, press back into the plank, and then slowly move into that down dog. So the big thing with this movement set is I just don't want it to turn into forward, back, forward, back. I want you to think about feeling that tension through the upper back, through the shoulders, as we pull forward, keeping that active upper back set, and those hips nice and level so that they're not sagging as we pull forward. Sometimes that can happen as we pull forward, the hips drop towards the floor. We want to keep the whole body shifting forward as one unit, and then coming back. And then before you move into the down dog, make sure those shoulders and those ribs and hips are still set so we can maintain good position as we go into our extension, into our down dog. So take your time with that. We have only 3 reps, so it's not too long. It doesn't take too long to go through, so you don't have to worry about rushing. Take your time, set up well. From there, we're going to work into our bird dog. And I have my hand in the ab mat here for knees. So depending on whether or not you have a soft floor at home or a harder floor, it's always nice to do these bird dogs with a nice padded knee or a padded floor. So my toes are curled under. I'm in my tabletop. My knees are underneath my hips. My hands are under my shoulders. I'm kind of in that nice solid rib hip position, nice and strong. I'm going to set my left foot and right hand, and I'm going to extend straight out, keeping my hips square to the floor, reaching my arm along to the front, and keeping that balancing arm strong. And then I come back in, and then I'm going to alternate. So I get tight, I extend, keeping that hip square, arm is reaching, heel is reaching, and I'm staying nice and flat. Something we have to watch out for in this exercise is this. I'm just going to do it with my legs so you guys can see. I extend and I open up to the side. I'm also shifting all my weight over to this balancing hand. So we have to really watch out in terms of that position. So what I find really helpful is keeping that toe pointing down and that feeling of almost pressing my heel into the wall. And if you struggle with this, there's nothing wrong with setting yourself up close to the wall and using the wall as a stabilizer to feel that position so that you can press into it to keep those hips level and square. Okay, so take your time with that, you guys. Really focus on those positions so that whenever you're hitting that, your hips are level, hips are square. Right from the bird dog, our 6 to 10 reps, we're going to move into our quad plank. So I'm still in that plank position. My toes are curled under. I'm going to pull my ribs and hips in, press through my shoulders, and then just lift my knees an inch off the floor, pulling everything into the center. I'm not really moving, but I'm pulling everything into the center line. You can't really see, but all of a sudden, as soon as I start pulling in, my body starts to shake a little bit. And that's okay, it's just my body working. But I want to think about compressing and pulling my hands and feet together, even though they're not going to move anywhere together. Okay? From our quad plank, we're going to stand up nice and tall. And if you'd like to start off first a little wider in your regular stance to warm up, you can. But we're going to move into our narrow stance, and we're going to hold a squat hold. So anywhere inside your regular stance, I'm going to get set up. My toes are going to track, my knees are going to track my toes, and I'm going to pull my hips to my heels, trying to stay as upright as I can. I'm going to hit my range, maintaining midfoot balance. I'm going to hold this for 10 seconds. And then at my 10-second mark, I'm gonna push through my legs so everything comes up together. Very common in the bottom of those holds, and whenever I come up, it's very common for our hips to rise first. But we wanna make sure that we rise from a good squat, shoulder and hip together, same time. So take your time, really focus on that push through the legs and maintaining tension in the bottom of that squat hold for that 10 seconds. Recap for you guys, inchworm side plank, 3 and 3 second holds in those side planks. Plank lean, coming forward to down dog for 3 reps. Bird dog, 6 to 10, alternating reps back and forth, focusing on that square hip. Quad plank, 20 to 30 second hold, just 1 hold, and then a narrow stance squat hold for 10 seconds. 2 to 3 rounds, got the yawns today. 2 to 3 rounds, pause the video, take that down, have some fun with it, get things fired up. It's really nice for the shoulders and the core, and then you're gonna meet me over here with some dumbbell. So our first exercise with the dumbbell is a dumbbell sumo deadlift. I'm gonna bring my ab mat back here up here because we're gonna use it later on. But the sumo deadlift, my feet are gonna be over top of the dumbbell, nice and solid, so it cuts my foot in half. I'm gonna turn to the side so you guys can see this profile and see my back position. So I'm gonna stand tall, squeeze my glutes to get set. I pull the hips back and down, keeping my chest high. I'm gonna try and treat this more like a snatch kind of deadlift. So I stand tall, I get set, I pull back and down, keeping my chest up, taking it as deep as I can maintain my back position. So I don't want to go all the way to the floor if that means I lose position. I do want to go to the floor if I can maintain that back position all the way through. Once I've done my reps, I'm going to move into 6 alternating dumbbell snatches. So the sumo deadlift are 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. Then we'll move into some alternating snatches. So I get back into that good position. I get set, tight. I'm going to stand through those legs, drive, pull myself under that dumbbell, stand tall, and then come back in and switch hands. I get set, I come down to my floor position, I drive through the legs, pull and open those hips, and then come back down. You're going to alternate back and forth. The key thing here is that I'm standing, driving through the legs and hips before I start using that arm. Right? That dumbbell should have a little bit of speed, a little bit of lift on it before we get it going. So a cool little drill for you guys if you want to play with it is deadlift, deadlift high pull, and then snatch. So you get that nice flow of the exercises from one to the next. So it really grooves you to open the hips and the legs, then get a little bit of momentum, and then follow through with that dumbbell snatch. So that's a nice little triplet. If you like to play with that, be my guest, have some fun. It's a good skill set to help groove the dumbbell snatch and use the legs for what they're there for. Okay, so if you'd like to substitute that in there for skill work, please be my guest. The next exercise we're going to do is a little bit different, and I'm going to kind of do a couple reps from the front and a couple reps from the back. So the ab mat there is just there for my knee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself set up. I'm going to push the dumbbell overhead. Now, the dumbbell, I don't mind what hand and what leg work. I want you guys to make sure you're doing it. I'm going to step back. The leg that steps back is the arm that's going to be overhead for me today, just to keep it kind of the same. But I don't mind what you do. It could be same arm, same leg, sit different. It could be whatever you want. But you're going to stand in this overhead position. You're going to step back, down to your kneeling position. You'll bring the dumbbell down. Then you're going to stand tall. You'll pop it back up overhead. Step, lower in a good lunge position. Bring the dumbbell down. Stand tall. So there's a little bit of coordination there. Working on stability. Working on that overhead control. All right? And then we just lower it down to make it a little bit easier to stand up so that we can work the overhead position on the way down. The key thing we want to think about on the way down, all right, you do without the dumbbell so we can talk to you a little bit more, is actively pressing the dumbbell to the ceiling. When I step back, it's no different than a back lunge, okay? So my knee is stacked over top of my heel, my knee is stacked under my hip, and my arm is finishing in this nice long vertical stack position. When I come down with the arm, I can just stand tall and work set, okay? So it's a little bit of coordination work. We start with the dumbbell overhead, we lower down to the knee, hold for control for a beat, bring it down, stand in the front rack. You'll do 3 to 5 per side, then you'll switch sides, and then take it down. So like I said before, what I did this was, the arm that was up in the air is the leg that stepped back, and then I lower down and stand tall. So if you do it this way, keep it consistent for both sides. So just to make sure that you get a nice equal balance of work. It's gonna kind of challenge your coordination a little bit, so it's okay if you kind of feel a little spastic. It's new, it's strange, but it's gonna really give you a chance to work that overhead position if that's something you struggle with in terms of the overhead lunge. So play with that, have some fun. If you want to do it without a dumbbell, you can also do that as well, just to work on your positioning. Just make sure we're keeping that arm in that overhead position. After that, we're going to get and turn up the intensity. And you're going to work on a few dumbbell lateral jump overs. So you can work on a 2-foot hop, you can work a skip, and you can work a step over. You're just going to kind of keep it going for 20 seconds, nice and steady and smooth, and just make sure we're getting over the dumbbell and clearing that position, that obstacle. We're just using it to get our ankles kind of warmed up, get our heart rate up a little bit, and then we'll take it back to the top of the warm-up, get yourself fired up with a recap for the Sumo Deadlift, so 3 per side, into our dumbbell snatch, 6 alternating. If you'd like to substitute that little complex I showed you with the deadlift, the high pull, snatch, you can work through that 3 per side, just to give you guys a chance to kind of work on that skill. That's also fine. And then you'll move into that overhead kneel. So standing overhead to kneel, into that front rack, stand tall, 3 to 5 per side, and then our dumbbell lateral jump over for 20 seconds. Take that down, 3 to 5 rounds, get your heart rate up, get your body ready, get your body used to that lovely, lovely dumbbell snatch, because it's coming at you in a big way in our workout. So pause, come back to me, we're gonna chat about some options with the V-up and talk about the workout. So what we have for you guys for the workout is a wall run of 90 seconds accumulation time. So if you stop and rest, your timer stops. So you wanna accumulate 90 seconds of that wall run, or I'll have some other cardio options on the bottom if you have a treadmill, rower, bike, whatever you have there. I'll have some options for you on those pieces in the workout description. Once you finish that cardio piece, you're done with it for the rest of the workout. And then we're gonna move into our 18, 16, 14, 12, 10. So we have our alternating dumbbell snatch. If you want any kind of coaching cues or points on that, come back to my warm-up in the first piece, rewind the video, there's lots there. But for the most part, what we're looking for is a really nice, smooth dumbbell snatch and transition with this work set. So you'll have 18 total reps, and then you're gonna lay down on the floor and you're gonna work through the V-up. So the V-up, we have multiple options for the V-up. We have our double leg V-up, so we snap and come together. We have our single leg V-up, working up. We can work on our tuck, so both chest and thigh come up together. We have our single leg tuck, so very dynamic, but my chest and thigh are still coming to meet in the middle. If that's a little bit too much hinging, we can work on our hollow up. So both hands, both feet, my core pulls together, ribs and hips, and that presses my low back into the floor, so there's no space. I can work on my alternating hollow up, so just single leg. Again, making sure there's no gap and no space between the low back and the floor. Now, our other 2 options are more focused on the upper portion of the V-up. So if you'd like to play with these, this first one's a little slower than the others, but it does pack a punch, so I want you guys to keep that in mind. I'm gonna lift my legs up into my L position, toes pointed straight up. I'm going to reach my arms up, but my shoulders are still touching and my head's still touching. I'm gonna pull my ribs together, and I am going to try and touch my laces, and then come back down with control. Shoulders and head touch. Try and touch my laces,
come back down. And that's going to isolate that upper portion of the core. It's also going to help build strength for that lift of the upper body in the V-up. Now, if that double leg option, your legs are like this because of your hamstrings, just do a single leg. It's not going to make the up easier, but it will allow you to keep a slightly straighter leg for our L position. So you can just do half the reps with one leg, half the reps with the other leg. Our last option will give you a nice little hamstring stretch as well. So I straighten out my legs, I reach my arms above my head, and I'm going to sit up, try and touch my toes, and I work through my pike sit up, working through that nice reach towards my toes,
or wherever I can get to down my thighs. So you may find you might only be able to get to your knees, and then closer to the end of the workout, you may be able to get to your toes. Explore the range throughout the workout as it opens up, and really focus on opening up those hamstrings in that pike position. All right? So again, as a quick recap, we have 90-second wall run, accumulation, or cardio of choice in my workout description. And then we do 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, dumbbell snatch, alternating, and V-up. So it's going to be a good little burner, that little couplet. So be prepared, all right? Have some fun with this one, you guys. It's going to be relatively quick, but it's going to be a good burner. So have some fun with it, enjoy. Remember, you guys, work for quality on those movements and those snatches specifically, and have a great time today. Happy Tuesday. I'm stoked to hear about it. We'll see you tomorrow for some more fun. Bye, you guys.